I want people to love and enjoy mining. I'm sick of the shit people affecting our industry and how it feels. And the reality of it is, mining gives a lot. Go and earn 100 grand a year and work half a year. I dare you to go find a job, because you won't find one. And the reality of it, if you did find one, you'd have to upskill yourself for 4 years, and then you'd be doing Monday to Friday office hours anyway, working for someone. Mining's great. If you want to be home every night, start looking at your skill set to do something different, or push yourself out of your comfort zone. Or say, hey, if I work the next 2 years, I save enough money, that'll give me a time to take 6 months off working part-time to do this. Why don't you, want residential because you've got a young family? Move to a place like Cobar or Moranbah. What's hell for a person? It's called isolation. They can put you in a cell and you talk to no one. Like, we're in a world where you've got the flexibility to do whatever you want. 4 billion people a day live on less than $5 a day. And here we are whinging about $2 that someone's getting down the road more.
Welcome to the Beers with a Miner podcast. My name is Mad Mumzie, and I've been driving the huge dump trucks in Australian open cut mines for over 10 years now. I wish I had $1 for everyone who said to me, "How does a little thing like you drive those big trucks? You must be rich. How do I get a job doing that?" My mining friends are asked these questions all the time too. This is what started the Mad Mumzie journey to share stories and tips from living a mining lifestyle and to let others know what it's really like. Tune in each episode as I sit down for a relaxed chat, usually over a few beers, with a fellow miner. Women and blokes with various experience, roles and opinions share their lessons and stories with you. Not everyone is cut out to be a miner, but why not? What does it take to thrive and survive in this industry? Now, let's dig in. Get it? Dig? Mining? Oh, crack me up. Hello and welcome to episode 51 of Beers with a Miner podcast. In this happy hour episode, I sit down and have a chat with Peter Finn from Face Contracting. Face is a company that started out as a contractor and mining OH&S consulting service, but has since expanded into both mining and labour hire services, helping businesses all around Australia. As if Peter Finn isn't busy enough, he also has a podcast called Full Production. This is a really great podcast talking to all sorts of miners, so if you enjoy mine, I'm sure you'll enjoy his. Make sure you search for Full Production in your favourite podcast app. I really enjoyed this chat. We covered a lot of different things, and I hope that you enjoy it as much as I do. One weird thing after editing or during editing, I realised I kept calling him Peter. Peter this, Peter that. And of course that's his name, but I now know, since I'm in his community and I see him on Facebook doing lives and stuff, he's more known as Finny from Cobar. He owned a pub once, and that's where the story begins. So let's dig in. I hope you enjoy this chat with Peter Finn from Full Production Podcast and Face Contracting. Welcome to the podcast, Peter. By the time this goes live, I have shared how freaking awesome you are in the intro for my listeners. I've been trying to think how we connected, and I reckon it's through Ronsley Vass from Amplified and the founder of We Are Podcast. He says you're a legend and that you're doing great things in mining and that we needed to hook up. And finally, we've made this happen. So welcome to the podcast, Peter.
Thanks, Leanne. It's good to finally be here, and I'm really sorry about the cat and mouse. As you said before, individually and having a mining company and a podcast and a young family and all the rest of the stuff that goes into life in general, I am pretty busy, and I'm feeling a bit silly by being on here because I actually had to run out to the fridge to try and look for a beer. I'm actually in my office in Perth at the moment, so I'm going to be the modernised, weird fucking miner, that guy that comes to the crib room and drinks water all the time, or goes to the pub and orders a squash, when technically I actually am a beer drinker and I'd love to have one right now, but here I am having a water. Next time I'll be better prepared.
Yes, then I grew up with my dad saying never trust anyone who won't have a drink with you, but that's not a very good politically correct statement to make these days, I guess. So, everyone has their right to have a drink or not.
Yeah. I think it's a big thing too. I grew up, I actually owned a pub there for a while out in Cobar in New South Wales, where I'm from originally. But growing up in a mining culture, we all work our days on and we drink our days off. And don't get me wrong, I dead set fucking love a beer. And I love one right now, technically. And that's why that's why we made this 4 o'clock. So I actually couldn't have my beer any earlier. So I'm a bit disappointed that I'm not getting the chance to escape reality from a young little noisy family at home and have a schooner. But, it's a big thing. One thing that I've looked after the last few years in my business and myself is my health. And I think, socialisation and having a beer is a big thing, but also in moderation and in timely events. And I'm sure there's plenty of listeners up here like, fuck up, mate. I have a beer every afternoon, and I do too. Like, I like to have a beer most afternoons, and I think we've slowly just got to be aware it's good to have a beer, but it's also good not to have 20.
Yes, for sure. And on that note, Peter, what is your favourite beverage? It's something that I ask my podcast guests first up.
Mate, it is beer. I'm at the moment, my favourite drop, I've been in Perth, and I've got this habit of whenever I go somewhere these days, whether it be Tasmania or Queensland or New South Wales, I find myself always trying to drink the local drop. So currently I'm in Perth, and I'm really enjoying a beer called the Little Creatures. It's a bit of a hoppy, hipster young person beer, but my taste buds are growing. Coming from New South Wales or East Side, it's either 2X new or 4X gold.
Yeah,
I always see they're changing too. Like, you go to the pubs now, they've got Great Northern and Iron Jack, and but I'm a bit of a traditionalist. Sometimes I like to go. I actually like Reshes. I don't know if you've heard of Reshes before.
No.
You must be in New South Wales beer. It's actually not many places have it on tap anymore. It's pretty dying breed. But, yeah, so beer, mate, don't mind the odd cup of tea either.
Oh, the odd cup of tea. So you prefer tea over coffee?
Not a coffee drinker at all.
Oh, really?
No, I just drink tea, beer and water, mate. That's about my recipe.
It sounds like a good recipe. And do you ever have a wine with dinner or anything like that?
No, mate. Simple. I'm really simple. It's either beer, water, or a cup of tea. I think if you found me at a nightclub at 4 a.m. or 2 a.m., you might find me with something silly like a Red Bull and vodka or a vodka and orange juice. But usually I'm probably going to regret that for about 2 days. And
you said you had a pub. I can't let you just let that one slide under the radar there. How do you go running a pub? You'd have to really be in control of your drink and doing that. You'd drink all the profits and you'd have to control the natives, wouldn't you, or the clients?
I owned it in a mining town, so I don't own the pub anymore. So obviously being a mining kid, which I'm sure we'll get into that story shortly, yep. I just like everybody else in the mining game, we always look over the fence and think it's greener on the other side. And, I think in my mindset and the way I grew up, we work our days on and drink our days off. And ultimately it come down to, I thought a good idea, a pub lease come up, and it was pretty run down. And it used to be a really good pub back in the day, run by a really good publican. So I thought I'd take the opportunity to meet a mate sitting around having a beer and a feed who I was living at the time, and thought, fuck, what a great idea. Let's go and buy a pub. And we brought, it was called the Occidental Hotel in Cobar. And we brought the pub, me and Benny McManus. You know what? Now I reflect on it, it was like the best and the worst mistake all rolled into one. But ultimately, it was a mining pub, and sometimes the police didn't have many better things to do besides probably give a publican who's trying to have a go a hard time, which is a good lesson. And drunk people are hard to deal with, mate. Like, you really test your emotional intelligence level. I think I've me bouncer and mate said he'd never knocked out a sober miner yet. They're all good blokes sober, and then you give them a bunch full of piss, and they turn into, some of them turn into dickheads and wreck everybody else. So there was a lot of learning that went on when I had the pub. But you're right, I did have some really good times as well, mate. Met some really good characters. You do have to be careful drinking a bit of alcohol, because it's not, you run into a good person, no different to someone like you. And it's, the whole reason why I wanted to get in the pub because naturally I'm a very social person as well. So originally I found an avenue to probably network a lot as well locally. But another reason why I brought the pub at the time was because I was trying to start my face off properly down the labour hire mining contracting scene, and the big reason why I wanted the pub was I wanted the rooms that went with it so I could house workers. And obviously not only do I house workers, I had a kitchen there and they can probably come and spend their pay over the bar as well.
Oh, so there was a little bit of a back idea on just the let's have a beer and let's buy a pub moment. Did you already have the business, or let's talk about?
Yeah. So I already had Face. I was already working as a consultant at the time, doing a variety of things of safety and training consultancy, supervisory, risk assessments, training, a lot of that practical side of things, especially in the underground metallurgical environment. I have had a variety of background experience in underground coal, some surface operations, some processing plants, but predominantly I've done a lot from Cobar, so it's an underground metalliferous town. But I believe you're in Mackay or Queensland way, is that right, Leanne?
Yeah, that's right. And my listeners are waiting for it. So that means you're a real miner if you're underground.
Well, so it's funny. I wouldn't say a real miner. I think we're all different spotted dogs, mate. I think that I have spent some time in Mackay. That's what I talk about in the coal. I cut a decline in the Newcastle Hunter Valley area, and I lived at Imeo in Mackay there, but down the road from the pub, and I worked out in Thierry. I think I actually got a bit of a touch-up Thierry one night by a Maori fella. I also worked in Moranbah, Grass Tree. Oh, gee, you're pushing the memory. But good times and good people up in the underground coal. I really enjoyed it. Probably didn't do enough surface coal just in my career in general. Not to say that the door's closed on that. I'm still pretty young. But I am, miner's a miner, mate. Whether you're open cut, underground coal, or hard rock, everyone's different. If we're all the same, would be weird, wouldn't we?
We would, for sure. And I always say it because my partner is an underground miner. He's a fitter, and I'm open cut. And he calls himself a real miner. I did a whole episode about that. I'll leave a link in the show notes. And the show notes for this episode will be found at madmumzie.com/beers51, the number 51. And yeah, go back and have a listen to that because he really thinks that no, that's real mining. We are gravel scratchers and landscape. Interviewed two other underground miners who came across to our site in open cut when they shut the coal mine, the underground. And I interviewed them and we talked about the differences and, stuff like that. And they called themselves landscape gardeners because they just kept moving dirt around. And it's so funny. Yeah, big difference.
A bit of daylight never hurt no one, mate. I think if I had to go back operating or on the practical mining side again, I probably would look for a surface operation. But that's only my personal desire to probably get more open cut experience.
Yeah. So a lot of what you said you did initially was OH&S, safety, training, stuff like that. Is that right? Yeah,
supervisory sort of roles. Yep. So I obviously come from a practical background.
So you're a safety weirdo?
Yeah. It was funny. It was funny if you want to talk about safety weirdos. I can go right into this because I know this demographic well. So, what?
I'll just interrupt first. The hard hat mentor, my sister, she is always going on about hashtag safety weirdos because in such an endearing term because that's what she is. With a passion. Absolutely. That's her passion and lots of reasons why. And the other reason is because I'm going to open another can of beer.
Very important topics, mate.
I know. And, it is 6:30 over here, so I'm allowed to have another one. Sorry, I'm rubbing it in, Peter. Here we go. Favourite sound in the world.
Making me thirsty. Back on the topic of safety people, so how I ended up going down the safety avenue, it's a bit of a weird one. It was actually more of a training avenue of anything. was the fact that I had a practical background. I'd been mining since I was probably, 16. So, I come from a pretty in-depth background underground when I was 18. That's that sort of environment I grew up in Cobar. Like, you work in a mining community, working in the mines. And ended up becoming a trainer and assessor, I think was the first qualification. And then that led into more. And what happened was I actually found myself in a few safety trainer roles. And, safety guys necessarily get branded as a policeman or like your sister said, can be a bit of a weirdo, or they walk into the room and some of the blokes you can tell like, fuck, what's this fucking bloke on about? Or, he's unrelatable, and they try, and I don't know whether they're trying too hard or not, but one thing, I went into the role and I had a lot of them guys around me that were superior to me, and what I'd find is I was very practical, I was very relatable, and then all of a sudden I found that everyone was coming to me when they had a safety issue or a training issue, or, being the practical side of things, but not understanding the training concept, how the machine worked. And I'd jump on and operate it and be the physical side of things as well, because the sheer fact is that it was relatable to the guys. Some guys would spin out and go, what's this guy doing down here? Throwing bolts through a jumbo or jumping on a drill rig or whatever it might have been at the time. And what I found was that I wasn't enjoying the guys that were superior to me, that were safety managers, and they were unrelatable to the workforce. And they were always coming with questions, and it made me unenjoy my workplace. And so I sort of said to the missus, I was like, you know what, fuck this. I'm going to have to go back operating or do something different. And I was starting to look down different avenues. And she goes, obviously you're really good at your job of safety and training, and I could probably do a bit of supervisory role. And I probably was keen to go down that avenue of being in control of environments and influencing people. As you can probably tell by this podcast, I'm a good talker. It's one of my strengths. So I said, you know what, I'll start an ABN number and I'll do up a little flyer. Literally, I done an ABN number up. My wife's a business banker for the NAB, so she's pretty savvy behind me. And I did have similar ambitions for FACE and what I wanted to achieve, but I had no idea what I was going to be or how I was going to get there at the time. So I started my own company, and it was called FACE Mining Services. And I had ambitions to do labour hire and a few other things. So as I started, how can I explain this? I went out there and I put my flyer out. Literally the reason why I put my flyer out there was if I was going to be a safety tosser, as I like to call it, or what, a safety person, or however you want to perceive us, I was going to do it. I was going to have to get paid for it. Like, I was going to have to get paid the right money to be, I'll show you the best safety person there is from a relatability point of view, a practicality point of view, a compliance point of view. And a lot of it just comes down to attitude and relatability, because that's what got the most out of the guys anyway. Look, shit still went wrong, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, it's how you respond to it and the attitude you carry into it. So I then put it out there, and I put a rate out there and a flyer, and literally sent it to one company who was out in my hometown of Cobar, McMahon's. Actually, a really good bloke, actually, Grant Brickman. He's actually over in Perth at the moment. I just got him back on Facebook, and he just emailed back and had a bit of a chat, and he said, when can you start? And I'm like, oh, that was maybe a bit easier than I first thought. And literally, I need to say thanks to Grant for that, because now I think of it, I will reach out to him, because that was the starting point for FACE. And I started off on a shaft sink project, and then from there the company sort of blossomed and grew. And that's me safety. That's me safety and training experience. That's how FACE sort of started. Necessarily, it just evolved out of being a safety squeezer, really, and then it just grew into a mining contracting company. As I enjoyed safety and training, but it was not necessarily a passion. I think now, as I've evolved, I add a lot more value around, mining contracting, labour hire. I've just started to buy some equipment. I've started to expand my knowledge and skill set to things that I do enjoy and want to achieve.
Wow, you're such a go-getter. How, just like Ronsley said, you're taking over the world. What, in the best possible way. What? How old are you?
Not in the Donald Trump way.
No, I wasn't going to say that. How old are you, Peter?
Mate, I'm only young. I'm only 33.
33, no shit.
Yeah, so 34 next year.
Yeah, and married, couple of kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, so I'm off the market, ladies. I'm 33, 2 kids. they're 4 months old and 21 month old, and a lovely wife, mate, that keeps me very straight and narrow and probably in tune with who I am and what's important in life as well.
Wow. Because I remember when I was overseeing my sister and we nearly got to catch up over in WA in person. And you were on the way over, but the kids got sick. So we called it off at that time. And now we've
caught up. So I've been living in New Zealand the last few years, and I probably will be based. I've got a couple of clients over there in the mining environment, one called Oceana, another couple of construction companies there that I do some work for as well. But predominantly, we've been living over there. We come over to start an office up in Perth. We just opened up one in Brisbane there, and we've got one in Dubbo and Cobar in New South Wales. So we're sort of on the expansion. Obviously, the mining's going good at the moment. So we're trying to, I think the big thing at the moment, everybody can relate to this, a lot of these companies, and I'm not going to name names, but like they can win work, but they can't deliver. You just feel like a number to them. So, I guess for us, it's coming over and setting it up and doing it right. So this is a bit of a scouting session. We're checking out WA. It's got a lot of my skill set, a lot of people that are quite similar. As I probably talk about later on this podcast, a lot of it comes down to relationships. So I'm keen to develop some relationships, but it's obviously got to work both ways as well. You're nothing worse when you're trying to talk to someone and they just don't give a fuck, or they're not interested in talking back. It's like, well, you know what, if you've got enough friends, dude, I'm cool. I'll keep on moving too and just keep on moving around. Do you find someone that's genuine and, it's not what you do, it's who you do it for.
And that is so true. Well, on the relationships part, and especially here in Queensland at the moment, we even had an inquiry into it, the labour hire inquiry, because there's so much contracting over permanent jobs now. And as the workforce, we see that as really threatening, because labour hire, with a lot of them, although that is beginning to change, you don't get holidays, you don't get sickies. There's just a lot of the big companies just are not putting on permanence, or a shirt as it's called, at all. And some of the labour hire companies, contractors, they just, you are a number. You feel like a number to them. And there's no relationship, I guess. There's no communication between the mine site and then between the mine site, the worker, and who the worker is working for, the labour hire. It's like, you talk to them, no, you talk to them. Well, I'm just the guy in the middle. It's just not working. And some of them are doing better than others. They just made them all be licensed over here. They weren't even licensed.
Just got me Queensland licence, mate, just recently.
Yay! I've heard it's a mission to get.
I can't. Truthfully, I didn't do it. One of the operations guys did.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I remember
I have people.
I approved the bill. I remember seeing the bill. But yeah, so it's funny. This is where I've had great success, is treating people like people, and you treat people like a number, you'll get a number. I think you would have heard that in episode 12 of Full Production, which is the episode that I'm on with my mate Robbo. Now, humans have got two feelings, okay? They've got certainty and uncertainty, and there's no in between. You can't be 50-50 on being certain or uncertain, because it means you're uncertain.
It's like, sorry, a little interrupt here. It's like you can't be a little bit pregnant.
You can't be pregnant.
As the hard hat mentor says all the time.
No, it's true. Ultimately, that's what happens. Is these big companies like Workpac and One Key, and sometimes the people that are trying to employ miners aren't miners themselves. They've got a lovely HR qualification and probably really smart and nice people, but the reality of it is the practicality of ringing up a miner and saying, hey, Leanne, I've got a surface truck driver job going, these 777 trucks, the culture's really good, the shift boss is a good guy, and you'll probably think to yourself, you probably ask the question, oh, hey, mate, what experience mining do you have? Oh, I'm just a HR person. And it's like, well, fuck. How are you meant to tell me that the culture's good when the reality of it is you've never worked there, you wouldn't even know the shift boss's name? So the reality of it is, I'm not saying that's the case for these companies. I've got no idea how the fuck they do things. I just do things my way. And I think it's really big to understand the people that you're employing and what they want. And look, if if they are doing, like, a lot of mines are looking at separating their risk. They're, instead of employing people full time and giving them a shirt, so to speak, or they're putting them at arm's reach by having a contractor or I guess, how can you explain this? A transactional setup where they pay you and then vice versa. And the reason why they're doing that as well, and it doesn't really matter if they do it or don't do it, and I'll tell you why, is because if the mining goes to fucking shit, it goes to shit. So if you've got a full-time job with Glencore and you've got a full-time job with Face, well, Face might go first, so be it. And I know who's going second. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, at the end of the day, the mining's are waves and they're cycles, and it's about making this. Financial education is probably another topic we can run down here, but, you got to be able to, look up. Mining makes good money, so we've got to try and make the money to be able to live a life that suits us. And obviously mining can be tough, if you let the shit people affect how you feel, then you let the shit people win. So it's really key for these guys in the mining environment, especially for guys like me, to understand, like, you're right, we're going to this mine, let's say a BMA mine, or let's go North Gonyella or wherever. You can name a lot of places up there and say, right, the deputy's this guy, the undermanager's this guy, this is how the rosters work. He's a good bloke. Oh, he's a bit grumpy, but actually if you do your job and say get aid him every now and again, he's all right. And it just sort of paints a picture for him. The big reason why I got the podcast going is chuck the mic in front of him, mate. Don't sit there and think you're fucking awesome. Tell them. And you'd be surprised how many of them aren't willing to jump on the podcast and sound like a dickhead. You want to jump on a podcast and sound like a good bloke and genuine. No different to me. And at the end of the day, it's the same thing. I'm trying to paint a picture. Go, hey, Leanne, cool. This is episode number 12, full production. Have a listen. You listen to it. You've listened to it, haven't you? And you go, oh, fuck that Peter Finn guy. He's a champion. He's saying something that I want to hear. I go, cool. The job I'm thinking for you, Leanne, is with Benny Hewlett, and Benny Hewlett's the production superintendent or whatever, and I say he's the podcast on him, and you'll be like, fuck that, Ben, he's like a pretty good fella too. Oh, that's how he operates. So you've already got this perception to what you're going into. But ultimately, how much effort do miners want to actually go into in finding out what their workplaces are like? Unfortunately, the other scale of that is people are so shallowly driven these days, where I'll say, oh, hey, I'll offer you $3 more, and they fucking go like that. And it's sort of like, well, what happens when I offer you $3 more and someone else offers you another $2 more? Are you just going to go like that again? And you end up playing the number game. What's the point?
That's right. And I've done an episode on that. I'm pretty sure it's an audio blog. I'll leave a link in the show notes. I know I at least did an article for Shift Miner on it, and it was about is the grass really greener? And, at that time, a lot of people were hopping from site to site. I know people that did it for $1. And then they left, like $1. And they left and kept messaging me about, and because I was working with them, I'm actually driving further and we're spending more time on the bus and the camp shit and this and that. And that's what planted the Mad Mumzie seed of, well, this is happening a lot. Let's talk about it, because it's not all about money. It's about the people that you're working with. It's the accommodation. It's the travel. There's so much more to it. And I shared that content to try and get people to think about it from that line as well, not just money.
Yeah, look, it's a topic of, and this is what I talk about in the podcast. The podcast is about, and yours is probably no different to mine. There's a variety of topics we can talk about within mining in general, and people are living life too shallowly. Like, if you haven't got your physical health, mental health, emotional health, you got nothing, mate. The only thing you take out of life is the relationships you have in it. And then I'll just give you an example. How many people do we know should be sitting here having a beer with us today? How many people do we know that would give anything not to be 6 foot under? And this is life. This is dead set. This is it. You live from zero to when. When is the big fella upstairs tapping you on the shoulder and saying, that's it? And when I talk about the only thing you take out of life is relationships, it's not the $1 or $2 more that you might fucking earn down the road. Like, that's just shallow, I think that the big difference is you sit back on life and you say, if you worked at a place for 10 years ago, Remember I interviewed that fucking face mining guy at Peter Finn? Wasn't he a great bloke? And then that's all you'll think about, But unfortunately, as human psychology as well, you'll probably think about the dickheads, because unfortunately, the dickheads affect how we feel. And you sit back instead of going, "Oh, hey, how about Leanne Drew? She's a nice lady." You'll sit there and think about, "Oh, what about Joe Blow? Wasn't he a fucking tosser?" And then the reality of it is like, "Why are we thinking about that tosser? There's all these other good people we met." So, this is why it's key for people that are in control of people's work environments, like shift supervisors, superintendents, that they create the environment, they bring the best out of workers.
Yeah, and a big thing I've noticed, like you say, about when we all get together, and especially when you meet up with someone that you worked with on one site, and and then they've moved or you moved, or they know someone, or I know someone who worked there. Did you know them? And you just, it's a big bloody massive gossip session half the time, but it's a flashback, and it's who your family was at the time, because as you know, when you're on site and you're working and that, you do become a big family, and we don't all get on, and you don't like each other, everybody, but you still all get on. And the thing I shared with that is the grass really greener also was that you might leave one site because of a dickhead boss or someone that you didn't like, or perhaps you felt intimidated or bullied, or so many different scenarios. And then you go to a new site and they follow you. And I have seen that happen time and time again. And people go, "Oh, he's running the show. I'm not fucking going there. He already sacked me once."
Yeah, it's funny, I can talk about this pretty in-depthly. You spend, you should choose what you do for work before who you choose to marry. At the end of the day, you spend six, and then I say to people, but mining's got a lot to offer. Where else can you earn really good money and work half a year? So is that pros and cons of setting their goals and their ambitions, but we can break down later on the podcast about what people can do to achieve more and get more done. Now, and the same thing about workplaces of people leaving. If you're going to walk into a pub, no matter what pub you walk into, there's a good chance you're going to run into a dickhead. So if you go to another mine site, there's a good chance you're going to run into another dickhead. Dickheads are everywhere. And as soon as you let them affect how you feel in the top 2 inches, mate, you're done.
And that's something that I've heard from, I think, probably my stepdad a lot. Mad Baz, he's been on the episode a couple of times. He says, how does he put it? Different circus, same clowns.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
and I've heard that from other people as well. And I've said it a lot because, there might be different trucks. It might be in a different place. It might be a different company, but you're still going to have the way that I tend to say it is. There's the cousin you don't like, the brother who's a kid, the one who drinks too much, the one who's sleeping around, the really nice person who's trying to always look after everybody, the nana, the culture usually ends up the same in most crews that I've been on. It's just a matter of how everyone deals with it.
I think the leader, the shift boss, has something to do with it. Like the person that creates the environment is the leader, and that's like I can relate because I run my own business, and I try and lead by example. Probably hence why I'm here having a fucking water, but I try to look after my health. I try to present myself well. I try to speak in a positive, tone and language, and lead by example. You can't make people change. You can only lead by example, and they'll follow. And at the end of the day, if you're being the best version of yourself in all areas of life, then and you're happy and content with who you are, then that's a given. But it's a big thing, mate. That shift bosses, the people that your superintendents, whoever whoever create their environments, are key to what they get out of them. If you've got a good shift boss or a good supervisor, and that person is going to improve productivity. There's going to be limited absenteeism. There's going to be limited turnover. People are going to go an extra mile. I think I said it at the start of the podcast. It's not what you do, it's who you do it for. If you've got a dickhead shift boss, there's a good chance you're probably going to have an hour and a half for fucking lunch. But if there's a good shift boss and he knows he needs to get the tons out or whatever, mate, you'll have 45 minutes and cruise down the truck again.
Yeah, that's right. And also along those lines is that respect is earned, not how do they put it? Demanded. You know, some shift bosses, especially the higher up the chain you go, their power and authority is supposed to, you know, scare you into doing everything right, especially with their language. And other ones, then they have a good balance. The best ones I've have a good balance between being nice and lighthearted and having a chat, but still getting the message across, whilst also not being everyone's best friend and not necessarily going out and getting on the piss with everyone and stuff, because everything always happens then. You know, how many people get sacked at Christmas parties in any industry? You hear that all the time. But they've been the best ones that I've had, where they've earned my respect by just the way they are. And you know the pressure they're under from above. They're pressured from below or from us, you know, the troops on the ground. And just before I left one mine, my supervisor, we only had internet in the crib hut, because we were allowed to have phones there, but only at crib time, or if you were around the crib hut. And so everyone was in his office because, you know, checking the footy scores or whatever. And I walked in and he said to me, Leanne, you need to get me on the podcast. You know, this being a supervisor, I have to be a psychologist, what do you do when the husband and wife aren't getting on? They go and do marriage counsellor. Yeah, all of these. And he sprouted off all of these different things. And I said, all right, come on the podcast. He said, yeah, no, I'm only joking. But, you know, just letting you into my world. And he said, look at all these people in here. I'm supposed to be doing all these reports. And, yeah, and he is the best supervisor I've ever had, for sure.
Yeah, and they're the ones that you want. And, you know, you got the guys up above too, and we need to be conscious that the guys up above have a lot on their plate as well. And this is what I look for when I go to service companies. You know, I look at people that are actually willing to, you know, go the extra mile for their people and do things differently. Hence why I've started a podcast of trying to influence the market to say, like, I actually want to know what the camp's like, what the workplace is like, what the management's like, because that's key for me to say, hey, Leanne, this place is a good place to work, whether it fits you or doesn't fit you. But at the end of the day, you know, you're trying to paint the best picture possible for people to go into it. And them supervisors, like you just spoke about before, mate, you know, they're key. You know, personality is half the battle. And if you got to carry a positive, proactive attitude into life in general, not just work.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, man, we so alike. We both like to talk too, which is good. Now, you touched before on a couple of things that you wanted to talk about, or that we might get to, which I thought were good, and it was financial education and achieve more and get done. So can we have a chat about that?
Yeah, financial education. Let's get into it. Like, so I've had a guy on the podcast from Fin West Financials. Gee, I can't think of his name. Top of my head, it slipped me.
Would it be your brother or something?
No. Actually, it's funny. He's actually not related at all. I think I had to mention that at the intro of the podcast. Yeah, I can't think of his name. I'm gutted because he's a really good bloke. But anyway, I had him on the podcast. He's actually a really influential guy. Actually, when I met him, I didn't know. He'd come into the meeting, he was in a wheelchair. So it's sort of like, you know, when you meet someone in a wheelchair, it's sort of like, oh, you know, shit. Interesting story around how he had an accident, and luckily enough, his boss at the time when he was doing his apprenticeship as a plasterer made him get all these insurances, and that insurance has set him up to be a better person because of it. And I will think of the guy's name, and I'll flick it through to you. But, you know, I grew up so this is my own personal upbringing. I grew up really poor. I grew up with 6 sisters and me, so there's 7 kids.
Oh, true. Holy.
You think I'd have some idea how you females work? I got absolutely nothing. You know, men are really simple: food, sex, and a bit of beer, and we're fucking completed, mate. We're done. And ultimately, growing up that way, I wasn't real poor. Like, I wasn't like fucking the bones of my ass sort of stuff. But Mum and Dad was a kangaroo shooter, done a bit of electrical work as well, and Mum was a cleaner. And obviously, having a big family like that, you know, it's big. You know, it's a big dynamic beast, and probably had a few avenues in life that I could have took. And I was very lucky. I was a very average or half okay rugby league player, which got me a job in the mines, and then that led into me coming from not much to being 18 years of age or 17 years of age or whatever I was when I first left school, working in the mines, earning 80 grand a year, and playing football, and then that developed a few social issues around drinking a lot and working and learning life in general. So, to be 18 or 17 and, earning 80 grand plus a year, I've never earned anything less than that. And then that just grew into more where I kept on earning more and then, buying cars and travelling and literally not being resourceful with my money. And, it wasn't until I met my wife, Rachel, was a business banker. And probably just as I started to meet her, I really started to think about, like, shit, I'm being really unresourceful. And especially when you start thinking now, I think pretty deep these days. I think, 4 billion people a day live on less than $5 a day. Me and you probably spent that in beers in this conversation. Now, I started to really, delve down how many other people in the mining game as I evolved, and Rachel being a business banker, she really put me back on track financially. And technically, I just didn't want to worry about money. All I wanted to do was do what I do and I enjoy it. I'm at a situation now where, I look at my money and I'm trying to work out how I can influence the market and attack it better and make our mining environment better. So the whole reason why I started the podcast and stuck to mining, I had a few opportunities to walk away from mining. The reason why I stuck to mining was a little while ago, probably about 2 years ago, I was just like, mining's shit. There's fucking dickheads. I was just letting everyone affect me, and I done a lot of work on myself. I probably pumped like $500,000 plus on myself in self-development. You got to remember, I'm no different to any other mining kid out there. I just grew up in a mining town, and I went on this journey, and I started to think about who I can impact and who I can influence, and it come down to, if I was going to sit in a room and talk to a bunch of lawyers, I'm probably not going to be that impactful to them. But if you put me in a room full of miners, or give me the audience of miners, I could probably talk mining all the time. And I'd love to talk rugby league all the time too, but no one's probably going to listen to some Cobo Rooster talk rugby league. So
there's probably enough of them already.
Yeah, there is plenty of hot air about rugby league, especially in Queensland and New South Wales. Over here, you just find AFL, and in New Zealand you find rugby union. So I get a fair variety of sport in my life. But back on the financial education, obviously Rachel, was a business banker, put us in a pretty good spot, and episode number 12 of Full Production goes down to that story a lot more. And I started to really realise when the downturn came, the first GFC hit, like, I didn't have a house, I didn't have kids, and I thought to myself, like, I went through a breakup before Rachel, my wife now, and I was like, fuck, thank God I didn't have a house and a kid and a car to her and all this other shit, because I got other mates that did, and it was always so messy. How many messy situations have we had, not just emotionally but financially? And I started thinking about all my mates that earned good money in the good times, and they would jump the job for $10 more or $3 more, we just spoke about, but they weren't resourceful. They had the Maloo ute, they had everything else ticked up. And then all of a sudden the downturn came, they were like, shit, and a lot of people, that put a lot of strain on their marriages and relationships and their life in general, let alone all the toys they had, and then they couldn't sell it because who are they going to sell it to? And everyone else in the same situation.
Yeah.
And the reality of it was, I think financial education, I talk to guys now about it. It's something that I want to do some more work on, around trying to educate guys to go see a financial advisor, go and fucking sell the Maloo ute, go and sell whatever that's not necessary, and make the most of the good times, and try and set yourself up better, and also try and understand money is not the main motivator here. Yeah, it's very key, but enjoying life is just as important. Having a healthy, good relationship with your wife, being present when you're with your kids, not on Facebook or Instagram or sitting around, not being present, looking after your health, because this is your ship. You got to look after your health mentally, physically, emotionally, to try and be the best version of yourself and live a very fulfilling life. You talk about fulfillment, that's what we all chase, where the reality of it is, you walk an old lady across the road, you can't put a price on that. And that's what we chase. We all chase that giving feeling. And ultimately, that's what I am. I'm trying to chase fulfillment. So the more I can get, more money I can earn, beauty, because it means the more I can give and help our demographic, whether it's financial education, whether it's, I've got a lady coming on soon called Clarissa. She's called the Happy Divorce Lawyer. She specialises in divorces. Like I'm trying to, there's so many topics from operational to outside the industry, suicide, depression. I'm sure you can relate to topics. I just had the Kalgoorlie mayor on full production, and some of the conversations me and him had, being in, Kalgoorlie and Cobar are quite similar sort of demographics. It's a rabbit hole after rabbit hole, but I just think that, the mining's good. You need to make the most of your money and upskill yourself. I think upskilling is a big thing, and that probably goes into another avenue of training. But, not only looking after the money you got, making your money work for you so you can have a lot more certainty about your life moving forward. And then obviously on the back of that, do some upskilling, do some training, take 1 week off. You do week on, week off, you take 1 week off, you get 3 weeks off. Go do a course for 3 weeks. Go and sit your trainer and assess a ticket. I got a mate the other day, Ray Dolan, went and done his real estate ticket. Now he's got a ticket to get out of the industry. He actually enjoys the industry more because he knows he's got a ticket out. Start to look, don't put all your eggs in the one basket. And you get it's a pretty strong topic. I get it, and we could probably talk about it for half an hour or so, but it's something that I can't reiterate enough that if you're not happy, what are you doing? I'm not saying you're being unhappy in your job right now and you just fucking quit. That's not smart. Not make a plan. Sit down and write. I'll tell you one exercise me and my wife do. As I sit there and I write down how I see my life for the next 2 years or 5 years, and she'll do the same. And sometimes, it'll take an hour writing down, literally no distractions, no phones, just writing. And then you swap it over, and I look at hers and she looks at mine. And all that does is, she'll go to me. She said, I didn't know you wanted to coach a rugby union side or a rugby league side. And you know what? What did I do last year? I went and coached, or a year before, coached a rugby union side in New Zealand. Just for the sake that it's off the bucket list, And sometimes there's things in there you don't agree on, but what you do is you have a conversation to get some clarity about moving forward. That's just one simple exercise, around, financial targets. How do you see your life? What do you want to do?
Now for a word from our sponsor, Julia Hartman and the Bantax Accounting Group. Julia's my awesome accountant. She's written 2 books with financial expert Noel Whittaker, and she's got a passion to help us miners make the most out of our hard-earned cash. She's got heaps of tips and make sure that we get every cent we are meant to get, and is right on the ball with everything. If you head to bantax.com.au/miners, that's BANTACS, you can download a free booklet all just for us miners. And there's also a spreadsheet in there that helps you check off what tools you have for your trade, like your isolation lock, work boots, 7 shirts, all of these sorts of things, and you can weigh them up and it'll tell you if you qualify weight-wise to claim your trips out to work. And that's just one of the things that they've got over there. So I strongly urge you to head to bantax.com.au/miners and see what they can do and find your nearest office as we come up to tax time. They're really on the ball, know what's going on with the tax department, and there's heaps of other free information like property investing. If you really plan on doing some great things with your money, you want to do that, right? If you want to sell your house, can save a lot of money if you find out what to do first rather than in hindsight. And Julia, she'll, make sure you get it right. And if you do it wrong and then go and see her, she'll up you in the nicest possible way, because she really cares about us and wants us to keep our money and not give it to the tax department. Anyway, head over to bantax.com.au/miners and tell them Mad Mumzie sent you. I really think you're talking about I call it an escape plan, plan B or whatever, because either mining downturn or you get to a point where, I'd rather just be home every night. I'm a little bit over the driving out, and, we all have different seasons of life as well. And situations change and things do change. But I remember we had a it was a social club carton party pretty much out at work, and they gave out awards and everything we used to have it every 3 months. So, you know, who'd done the silliest something or other, and the guy who organised it made a little trophy, and we'd all any cartons that you owed, you'd cough up and everything. And that night, and I didn't have my microphone, and I told him I wasn't going to record it, but I just went around and asked everyone there, and we'd all had a few. I said, who's got a plan B to do something else? And there were only 2 out of probably at least 20 that I asked that had even contemplated doing anything else. And those 2 blew me away with what they're already doing, you know. Just one was starting a trucking company. Another one had looked into getting a mud crabbing cruising boat going in the rivers around here and take the tourists out. And we had a conversation for a bit, because I'm a bit of an entrepreneur, you know. We had this whole full-on conversation about how he could make that happen. And this is my thing. If you are at work, especially in the open cart, you're driving up and down ramps, if you're a truckie, or, you know, you get a lot of time to think. And so I try to say, you know, use that time, listen to podcasts, stick your USB stick in, learn things, or even if it's right, there's so much time out there to do something that can help you move forward in your life. And also, like you say, about upskilling, even staying within the industry, because there are a lot of people that love it and stay in it forever. A lot of us go on about how bad it is, but there's also a lot of people who fucking love it.
So I'm a fucking lover, and I'm going to go down the lover train, because the reality of it is, righto, is mining gives so much. You know, we look at what this country's built on. It's built on BHP and Rio Tinto. And you start looking at, righto, the last downturn come, which was, 5+ years ago, and all you heard were these fucking dickheads upstairs that are fucking prime ministers or whatever. They were looking for sustainability and diversification around for mining. We've had that many fucking prime ministers in the meantime. There's been no stability in the company, and just so happened the cycles come around again, and what's fucking mining here to save the day again. Yeah. Which is great, and they all want to get their grubby fucking royal hands, and you get royalties. You know, I talk about Cobar, my hometown, as an example. You know, I feel sorry for mining companies like BHP and Rio Tinto, because they try and provide for the communities they live in, whether people fucking want to be unionised or what. Now, these people are generally trying to look after society and provide a service and a commodity. But the reality of it is, I'll give an example. My hometown of Cobar punches out billions of dollars a year in revenue for royalties for Australia tax. We can't even get a fucking 130-kilometre pipeline from Nyngan to Cobar. Like, seriously, like, we're in a situation where we probably add more value on a capacity compared to a whole city in some places around the country. And now we've got to start talking about mining from a practical point of view. Right? We've got to be efficient, and we've got to improve production. You know, hence why I call my podcast Full Production. Now, I'm all about it.
Great name. I'm interrupting there. When I heard the name, I'm like, oh my God, I love it. Love it.
And I'm all about improving productions on mine sites and efficiencies. But, you know, I want to talk about mining and why it's so good. One, I know us, and I talk to some key people in the mining game. We're mining companies like me, I'm keen for mining to have stability around it. I want it to be stable, and I want people to upskill and better themselves. I want people to love and enjoy mining. I'm sick of the shit people affecting our industry and how it feels. And the reality of it is, mining gives a lot. It gives you go and earn 100 grand a year and work half a year. Fucking, I dare you to go find a job, because you won't find one. And the reality of it, if you did find one, you'd have to upskill yourself for 4 years, and then you'd be doing Monday to Friday office hours anyway, working for someone. So the reality of it is, mining's great. If you want to be home every night, start looking at your skill set to do something different, or push yourself out of your comfort zone. Or say, hey, if I work next 2 years, I save enough money, that'll give me a time to take 6 months off working part-time to do this. Why don't you, want residential because you've got a young family? Move to a place like Cobar or Moranbah, or, like there's other people there that are doing the same thing. There's a community there to get involved with. And that's what it's all about. It's about community. What's hell for a person? It's called isolation, where they fucking put you in a cell and you talk to no one. Like, we're in a world where you've got the flexibility to do whatever you want. I talked about it earlier. 4 billion people a day live on less than $5 a day. And here we are fucking whinging about $2 that someone's getting down the road more. Like, seriously, I'm blessed. My name's Peter and I'm white. Does that make sense? Like, all of a sudden, we got to start being grateful for what we got. And I use this word grateful and appreciation because as soon as you live in that state of gratefulness, you appreciate everything more of life, and you're not begrudged. And I'll give you an example. If you go to the gym once to build muscle or lose weight, you're not going to see the results. You have to do it consistently. So if you wake up every morning and ask this question, what am I grateful today? And you can be as simple as, mate, I'm grateful to have a bed. I'm grateful to have a roof overhead. I'm grateful to have a hot shower. Because if you live in them, there's probably some bloke living in Africa who's literally having a mud bath and doesn't have this. And, this is how fortunate. I've got a job to go to. As soon as you start thinking about and doing that every day before your feet hit the floor, you change your perception on how lucky we've got it and how good we've got it. And then you then start looking at your life, like, what are you doing? Like, what are we giving him? What's your purpose? I've done this. I've broken myself down to a T. I've made myself so vulnerable that the reason why I did that, because I wanted to see what my vulnerabilities are, because vulnerabilities are a good thing, because they're the things I need to work on to make stronger. And if you're prepared to ask questions and answer honestly, you'll end up getting the results that'll, ultimately give you a fulfilling, awesome life.
Oh my God, you're bringing a tear to my eye.
Sorry, mate. Bit of a tangent, but that's how passionate I am.
I feel like I have those sort of passions. I know my sister, Hard Hat Mentor, has the passion, and she's at a more elite level than me. Definitely corporate, like up with all the big boys and girls like you are. And to hear it coming from a bloke is the first time, really. And to be sitting here having a beer, watching him, wishing he had one, and he's drinking water.
Silly bastard, eh?
No, yeah, you just got to get that shit sorted.
But it's funny. It's funny, like, even though that I'm up here dealing with whoever, that's just part and parcel of being emotionally intelligent. I've got the relatability to talk to someone like you and your audience. Piece of piss. Why? Because that's fucking who I am. Righto? I'm sure I don't go in with this attitude talking to a mine manager or the corporate side. I clearly tell them how I can relate to the workers and the demographic and how I get the best out of them, how I get them to put their resume in for Face and come and work for Face and why they should work for Face. But at the end of the day, sometimes it gets scary because it comes down to this is where the numbers come into play for people like me. And then obviously I go in and say, look, I'm happy to bring numbers to the table and trying to influence for people to come and work at your mine site. But, are you just going to go straight from your pocket? And I say it to the client. Or, same with the worker. A worker rings me out and goes, what are you paying? I go, fuck off. I'm good. I'm not paying you nothing. Because the reality of it is, but the client, end of the day, one, we've got to be efficient because we've got a really high labour rate and a high labour bill in Australia. Right? And we've got to be resourceful, of course, of that. So you've got to have these open, transparent conversations and say, happy to talk about it. But also, this is why I got to talk about it, because this is what I bring to the table. I know what I bring. It's easy for me to sound like Anthony Mundine, but you can sound like Anthony Mundine if you can't knock a perfect chop, you're useless. And I guess it's easy to have the talk, but delivery is key. I can sit here and sound as awesome as I want to, but if I can't deliver, then this is just another pocket of hot air they get around, and everybody knows a gunner. You're either a gunner or you're a doer. There's plenty of gunners around.
Yeah. And you're definitely a doer. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't like picking fights and losing.
That comes from growing up in Cobar, huh?
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
So I've got a couple of things here that I would like to touch on, because I'm being aware of your time. But what do you think is the best way for people who are desperate to get into the industry to do it now? I have my ideas, but I'd love to hear it from you.
It's a good question, because it's funny, you talk to clients and all they want is experience and all they want is skill. And I'm like, fuck, don't we all, mate? At the end of the day, happy to, lure them in. And sometimes you might get someone who's willing to jump for a few dollars or whatever. And I think, well, actually, you're probably going to get this guy for a few dollars more. But as soon as someone comes along or he doesn't like it, he's just going to mosey on off somewhere else. It's that culture we've bred into the mining game that we need to, instill that these supervisors or people that create environments are key to how people feel and do well in work environments and want to get up and wake up in the morning and want to come to work. Them people that you run into and you want to when you want to see them, you're like, fuck yeah, I can't wait to see that bloke. You never remember what they said, but they just fucking make you feel good, and they're the people we want in control of our environments. Now, for people outside the industry that want to get in, now's a good time. Obviously, we're going for an upswing. I'm going to tell you personally what I look for. I look for practical experience. Someone who's actually gone out of their fucking way to go get machinery experience on a road, gone and worked on a farm, just gone, not work behind a bar and hope you're going to meet some guy that's a fucking production superintendent. We're not at that stage yet. And I don't think we'll ever be like it was back in the boom times. But I think that I look for people that have practical experience, practical labour, hard work experience, and are taking the time and energy to get their resume right. Every person I employ, I make them, and every client I get, I make them listen to episode number 12 of Full Production, which is me, because they need to understand who I am first before they come and work for me. And you get guys that say, oh, yeah, I've listened to it. You can tell straight away I listen to it. So I ask a question, so says, are you fucking lying to me? So the reality of it is, it's like, our relation's off to a great start, mate. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, no. So we'll go listen to it and then get back to me. And they're like, oh, shit, I'm so grateful I listened to that. And I was like, well, fucking stop trying to be validated. People sometimes, I swear, mate, they apply for jobs just to be wanted. They just want to be wanted. And the reality of it is, if you want to be wanted, I don't know, go get a girlfriend or a boyfriend or, validate yourself in another way. But don't go and apply for jobs and go, oh, that face company, they rang me and they wanted to give me a job and they wanted to pay this much. Like, seriously, there's way more to life than just applying for jobs and doing that shit. Now, for people that want to get into the industry, take your opportunities when they present themselves. Don't be picky. If you're really keen, you will put yourself out of your comfort zone. You will go and live in somewhere like Mumzie. You will go live in somewhere like Cobar. You will do whatever. If you want it bad enough and you really want the good money and the good lifestyle, and depending on your age and what you're going to do, you'll get the practical experience. 2, you'll put the energy and effort into your resume to show that. 3, you'll have some sort of concept of mining, and that's whether it's YouTube or listen to my podcast or your podcast or whatever, or meeting a mining person. And obviously 4 is, when opportunity presents itself, get there and have a fucking go. The reality of it is, the hardest thing about mining is rocking up. If you rock up to work on time, mate, you're a winner. Because that's it. That's all it takes, to rock it up and you be a good bloke and have a crack at work and do your job. And not looking for a world beater, just looking for someone that's going to rock up, be reliable, get along with everybody on a personality front, happy to embrace weirdnesses and literally go to work and do a job and make the most of it. And it should go from there. But that's my own personal perception and what I look for. I look for people with practical experience. Don't be emailing me if you're a bar lady and saying, hey, I want a job mining. No, not going to be jumping out of my skin. If I had an opportunity to give you a exposure to heavy machinery, yeah, I'd give it to you. But it's probably not going to suit you anyway, because it's not going to be in Mackay, or it's not going to be where you want it. Everyone wants the 7 and 7 working at, I don't know what mine we got around there, Broadmeadows. They all want the creamy, cushy job, but mate, it doesn't come easy. Sure, if you meet the right person and get the right bloke, look, every now and again, that's what it's all about. It's not what you know as well sometimes, it's who you know. So, be nice to everybody. Say g'day. You never know who you're going to meet that's going to really add some value to your life. I could tell a few stories about that, but that's a whole other story. I've done things in the past that I've gone into a job and gone, shit, I fucking literally punched that person out once. So that bloke's not going to give me the job, is he? Or he's not going to give me the contract. He's probably going to go around and badmouth me to everybody. And that's just life. I've got to accept the fact that I've made a mistake in the past. And that's my personal take on it all, mate.
And very wise words, I think, and I agree with most of it. I would like to just mention, if there's any bar ladies or bar men, I'm sure you've come across in your travels plenty of women that are out there. I know underground there's less than there is in the open cut, and I have interviewed a couple on my podcast, Underground Women. But I'm just wondering, on your experience, and you see women in general interacting in male-dominated industries, roles, the cliche words that are thrown around all the time. What do you see in the women that make it work?
Now, so so for me personally, female in the mining environment and females in general are a big thing. One are having 6 sisters. It's a given. And mum is 7 females directly in my life, let alone grandmas and all that sort of stuff. Also having my own daughter, Annabelle now, and all that sort of stuff. So I'm a massive advocate for females in any industry. And I don't think we should be looking at genders in particular. I think we should look at suitability of roles. And I had a lady on the podcast called Tanya Gilbert. She was actually a safety manager. A really interesting story. Actually, come into mining, and she's like, sometimes you see females that come in and they've got to put like a manly mask on to blend into the environment. And, at the end of the day, that shouldn't be the way. And it's a thing we've got to change in the mining game. But so for females and interacting them in the workplace, I can't say I've ever seen a female underground coal mining. I know they're definitely in the surface coal mining, and they're 110% definitely in underground metalliferous mining. So they are around, and then from a machinery operating point of view, let alone the management point of view, there's a few key people up that way. I talked about Tanya Gilbert, who's a safety manager now, and I actually got another lady working with me at the moment called Sue Ham, and she was a HR manager for a client who actually who were going for a redundancy thing, doing a whole different setup of their way they operate their show. But for me, females, mate, male, female, I'm not really fussed, as long as they can come to work and be reliable and do the job. And I don't think we should be being perceived as a male-dominated industry anymore. You got to remember, we are blue-collar people. I don't know, I know there's sites and it's all getting very weird now, like around, people's attitude. And sometimes it's probably a good thing people improve their attitude. When a female's present, you probably, I know Tanya said it's probably saved a couple of arguments where men like to get their testosterone up and point a few fingers in meetings, and they'll probably hold their tone because a lady's present. So I think we need to be mindful of that. Males and females, mate, we're the yin and yang. We're the cat and dog, and I think there's enough place in definitely in the mining game for females, mate.
Yeah, the real miner reckons that it gets pretty. And the other underground miners that I've interviewed as well, a lot of it's very physical down there, very physical. And I have come across some coal mining women, definitely. And one of them I interviewed was the real miners, or one of the electrical apprentice, and that's Saraya D'Arth, episode 33. I'll leave a link in the show notes, which can be found at madmumzie.com/beers51. And that is actually the episode that I entered into the Australian Podcast Awards last year and ended up a finalist, or this year, ended up a finalist because of that episode with her. And we covered a lot of things, but there's different, which I learned from other undergrounders that I've interviewed, different levels of what you have to do down there. And so it's something to be aware of. But I know there's a lot of women in the surface, and my last article in Shift Miner was all about targets, and I'm not a fan of targets. I'm with you. If someone can do the freaking job, they should be the one that hires. Like, hire someone who can do the job. And there's a lot of minds and there's a lot of perception out there, especially with men up here in our area, around the you have to have pussy and boobs to get a job, to get a start. This is as a newbie. And they they edited pussy out of my article. He said, I understand what you're saying, but I don't think my readers will like that. So they left boobs in there. But, you know, at the Crib Hut, that's what the guys are saying. In social media, you'll see a job and it's advertised for newbies. And all the men will get, not all the men, but a lot of men will get on there, don't even bother, mate. Don't even bother trying. If you haven't got a pussy and boobs, you ain't getting a job. And, you know, so that makes it discriminating against them, you know, like it's really awkward situation. It's even in politics now.
This is the problem. It's the education around it and how we're relating to workers, you know, how we're relating to these guys that are probably carrying an attitude they shouldn't. You know, it's hard to make some people change their attitude, especially when, you know, from 0 to 18, you know, or that's what you filtered in from your life. You know, if you grow up with your parents being a certain way, there's a good chance you're going to be that way. And, you know, and I know this because I've broken myself right down. I've gone, righto, these are things I don't like about me. Why do I have these attributes? And I started looking at mum and dad and the way I grew up. And I started to really break down them attributes that weren't good and why I wanted to change that belief. And anyone can change if they want to change it bad enough. But it's the same thing if I was a female in this game. I wouldn't be letting them sort of guys affect or deter you in any way at all. And I wouldn't be taking the shit personally. And the reality of it is too, female, this is my personal opinion, females are good operators, you know, you just fucking look after the gear, you're nice, slow and steady. Yeah, like end of the day, it can be some frustration there with different hormones travelling around between an angry fucking excavator or dragline operator or, you know, whatever situation might be. But I think the bigger thing I come down to, male or female, if they've got the skill set, they've got the attitude, and sometimes there's roles that I know females would struggle at. You know, I spoke to Hughesy, one of my mates who's a mine manager, he kicked off a show in Dubbo, an underground mine, and Hughesy was saying that he's been, I've never seen it before, but jumbo operators in the hard rock middle lifters, it's a really hard job. He's been to a couple of female operators that do it. He said they're not the fucking world's best jumbo operators, but mate, I'd love to see a female jumbo operator. I can't do it, and it's take my hat off to people that are willing to, you know, and that's why it's not a man's environment, it's in everyone's environment. And as soon as we accept it and get rid of the shit attitude, you know, at the end of the day, they're not ever really worth talking about. I think the biggest education needs to be around how people can handle them situations more and more, and not want to not voice up because they're going to be the dibber-dobber or the person that, you know, that shit on someone or whatever.
So we might start to wrap up. I do have a couple of questions that I want to throw at you, and I know you talk a lot. So let's try, see if you can come up with a couple of sentences for each of these.
Okay, cool.
There's a challenge for you. Hey, let's get it. Let's see how you go. Right. How do you deal with night shift? Any sleeping tips?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's tough because we're nighttime sleepers by habit and by life, and I think having a dark room is one. I think personally, if I was doing night shift again, I would have meditated a long time ago. Hey, blokes, go listen to fucking meditate, rah, rah, rah. But there's a good app called Headspace I use, and look, it takes 10 minutes, mate. Put it in, do a bit of a breathing exercise. It's amazing what it does from a clarity point of view in the top 2 inches. So, mate, they're my tips. That's all I got. Drink plenty of water.
Love it. And I actually created 2 meditations, and one is called Get Shift Workers Back to Sleep.
Yeah, cool. It's an important topic, you know, sleep. Yeah, sleeping is critical. Sleeping's a critical part of how you function. You know, right now having 2 young kids, you don't. It's actually different stages of sleep or different types of sleep, which I'm not going to go into it here, and I'm trying to wrap it up real quickly. Yeah. But there's some different stages of sleep that you can get into that really give you the best result, and the quality of sleep is key. You know, having 2 young kids now. Shit, I really cherish my sleep and try and stick to a routine that I can, you know, have a good sleep so I can be the best version of myself when I need to, you know, catch up with people like you or talking to workers or the like.
That's it. You don't have to be on night shift to be struggling with sleeping. That's for sure.
No, that's right.
Yeah. Okay, next one. What's your favourite roster and what rosters have you done so far?
I'm an even time man. I used to like the 4 and 4, and I'll tell you why I liked the 4 and 4 was because back in the day it was really good residential feel. You had a real good vibe of community around people, around towns like Cobar and Moranbah where they were still really residential. But, in saying that, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, or 7 and 7, I don't know, mate, they're pretty good. It's each individual. Me personally, I'm a Monday to Friday man. I like me Monday to Friday, my weekends where I can have a game of footy or go to the footy or watch the footy. I hate missing out on shit. That's me fear. Missing out on stuff, I remember I quit one job. I was younger out at Peak Gold Mines, a recliner mine now, and I finished night shift, and it was New Year's Day, so the boys were out partying all night, and I was like only 21, and I picked my mate up, and he was still coming home from the pub. He was fucking blind, and he was telling me how good of a night he had, and I was thinking to myself, what the fuck am I doing on night shift New Year's Eve, 21 years old? And I went home and I had a beer with Dad because Dad was on night shift at another mine at the time. And I said, mate, I can't do this shit. And I quit actually. But I quit a few months later. It was pretty funny how the situation come around. But at the end of the day, I hated missing out on things. I hated not being able to play footy or do things that I wanted to enjoy. That's me personally. I know other guys, I've got mates that love it, love the 7 and 7 to go fishing, to spend more time with their quality family, all that sort of stuff, mate. So, me personally, Monday to Friday, Monday to Thursday, whatever.
And it is good that you have designed your life around that now. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've done your mining time, you still travel a lot and go away and stuff, don't you?
Yeah, so I got a bit of a work-life balance. You got to realise what's important to me. What's important to me is my health, and the better version of my health, and the better person I can be is the better person I can be for me daughter and me boy and Rachel. So we can actually create. You got to when you're living life to your values of health and self improvement, your family, your relationships, your work fronts. If I'm living to all them values, mate, life just feels really in tune. You're not doing something out of resentment.
Yeah, and now we better hurry up, or else you'll be in trouble from Rachel.
Yeah, but very fortunate to have that clarity around life. And that's why I say to people, go and ask some questions. And you reach out to me or whatever, and happy to give advice on where you should go or what you should do, because this is the one life. You don't get a second one, not that I'm aware of anyway. So I'm gonna make the most of what I've got now.
Yeah. Oh, good on you. Okay, what do you do with your old PPE?
Mate, I keep it. I hand out a lot of PPE these days, but no, we probably keep it. I don't know. It depends. Clothes wise, we probably keep clothes. It depends. Not really something that I wear these days. I know we outlay a lot for our workers and put their name on it and stuff. And sometimes guys snatch it on us or don't leave, and there's still new clothes there, so we might unstitch the name and stitch Leanne on there or whatever we might do. So the reality of it is, I try to be pretty resourceful. I'm not one of them guys that has a vending machine that lets everybody take out a new pair of glasses every day. Being a contractor, I try to be as resourceful as possible. And I'm not saying guys don't grab PPE, but I'm also saying don't go fucking throwing it down the fucking drive and walking home and go, I'm done. Let's start looking after ourselves and, looking after the gear we've got there.
Yeah. What about personally, as you've gone through your mining career? Have you got a big pile of shirts, or do you wear them fishing, gardening, or do you just chuck them out, give them to your mates? Hard hat?
Mate, I think I've donated to Vinnie's. I obviously got my own set of clothes that I wear to site now, but it's been a while. I don't get to site as much as I used to or like to. I still do some practical stuff, like I might go underground for a tender visit, or I might go to site for a visit, and sometimes, the guys on site like to build in work clothes. I'm probably a bit too shiny these days. Maybe I should roll around the car park before I walk in next time. But yeah.
Have you got any stories about your boots? Have you ever left them at home? You get pissed off taking off at the airport? Have you had any snakes inside them? What do you do with them?
I'll tell you a funny story about boots. One One time, in the showers, I don't know how the female showers work. I'm only speaking from a male shower. You get naked.
Well, I'm an open cut, so we don't have showers.
Okay, so
Yeah.
in the male showers, as far as I'm aware, it's always been open showers and you're naked and whatever. And one time I was brand new. My mate got me a job, and Yulsey never listens to this podcast, but Yulsey got me the job. And what they did was I was brand new to the crew, and they put me work boots. You had these baskets that come down, you unclipped it, and they dropped down, and you got your clothes out. But I must have forgot my boots for some reason, and here I was naked. And I was like, oh, shit, left my gear up there. And I was going up there. And what they've actually done is they've cut me rope and shortened it. So all of a sudden, I've got to actually stand up in front of the whole new crew trying to get my boots down.
That's hilarious. Thanks for sharing that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, is it funny you say that? This week, the real miner forgot to take his shorts to wear home.
Yep.
Like you have your shower and you wear your civvies home.
Put a towel around himself.
Oh, it took me a while to figure out. He goes, oh, lucky I wear boxers. So, yeah, he has to wear his boxer shorts out. Oh, thanks for that. And finally, last question. What is your special place when life turns to shit? How do you personally handle tough times, and what are your strategies, Peter or Finn, personally, to hang in there?
Put my phone on flight mode, get off social media, hang out with the people that are the most important, me, wife and kids, and just forget about, have a laugh, have a giggle, put myself around good people, and same thing, hang around shit people, you're likely to get shitty outcomes. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. And for me personally, I like to put myself around some good people, and my wife and kids take me to that happy place pretty quickly.
Oh, that's awesome. So nice. Oh, thank you for sharing that.
Phone on flight mode. That's the key, mate.
That is a good one, isn't it? In closing, do you have anything that you're really excited about right now that you want to share with us?
Mate, the amount of things I've got that I'm excited about, we'd need another podcast. I tell you what I am excited about. The thing that I have going at the moment, I've just started my own community on Facebook called Full Production. So if you go to Face Contracting, that's obviously the website. But I've got a group called Full Production. Have you joined Full Production? The group yet?
Absolutely, hell yeah.
Yeah, cool. So in that, it's usually in touch with me personally, and it's a community that I'm trying to create where it's all about what Face is up to, what the industry's up to, what jobs we've got going. And if you want to be a dickhead in there, I'm just going to kick you out. It's it's pretty the good people analogy. I only want good people in there, and trying to be transparent. Don't really want too many whinges. Like, it's just an environment where we can come there, hang out. You can hear what Face is up to, the things we're doing, all the podcasting, all the job opportunities, all the projects. I do some Facebook lives in there. I just personally, I'm really excited about it, because I'm starting to meet some old friends and good people, because on my personal Facebook account, I get, like, at the moment, I get inundated with messages and friend requests, and I just don't get the time. So the Facebook community, Full Production, really opens up a realm of being able to start a community of people that who want to hang around me, and I want to hang around them.
That's so good. I've started a biz with a minor podcast group, but it's very small and not much engagement, but it hasn't been too long. It's
who I want to talk to, and who wants to talk to me.
Have you done any Facebook Lives in there?
I've done one the other day. I'm actually going to do one tomorrow. I want to show some listeners tomorrow or this week when I get time. I want to show some listeners some of the things we got going on with Face.
Yeah, awesome.
Probably something I need to do a bit more of. I don't mean to be rude about the group. I'm actually try to interact as much as I can, but as everyone knows, I'm a busy individual, and but I am pretty active on it. That's one thing I am active on is the Full Production community on Facebook, and
it's growing really fast. I see every day a list of welcome to the group, and the good thing about groups is we, as the community, start to interact with each other. It's not all just about you, and there'll be other people that someone will come in and ask a question, and they'll know the answer, and they'll answer it for you.
Yeah. So I'm slowly going back through and filtering through some of the comments and conversations, because there's people on there too that I used to work with. It's like you run to people you have to work with, and it's good, mate. And they're helping other people out, and people post on the wall and tell me what they're looking for. And end of the day, it's once again, it's the people that are looking for something. If you're looking for an answer and you're prepared to ask the answer, you'll go find it, mate. Where your attention goes, energy flows.
All right. Is there anything else you want to say to call this episode complete?
No, I just encourage everybody to reach out and say good day and maybe watch the face journey and see where I end up. I have done a little bit of tendering for some coal mining work, but it's yet to be seen if it's going to come to life, mate. But I'll keep on knocking on the door and see what opportunities present itself, which might get me up your way one day, mate. But yeah, no, not at all, mate. I just encourage anybody and everyone to have a listen to Full Production. Episode 12 gives you a better insight to who I am and what I'm about and face, but also, just start keeping on talking positively about mining and enjoying what we do, and make our environments and our mining world better by being the better version of ourselves and carrying a good attitude into it.
Gold right there. Gold dripping from the ceiling. I knew it would be. Well, it's time to say goodbye now. We could chat all day, and I've been known to. Thanks so much, Peter, for coming on the episode. All the links we discuss can be found at madmumzie.com/beers51. Thanks, Peter. Cheers.
Thanks, mate.
So there you go. What did you think of that chat with Peter Finn from Face Contracting and Full Production? I know it went on pretty long, and I didn't want to edit too much of it out because there was gold dripping from the ceiling. Thanks so much for listening. All the links that we spoke about can be found at madmumzie.com/beers51. That's MUMZIE and the number 51. If you know anyone who is trying desperately to get a start in the mines and they just don't know what to do next or first, and they've been on a Google trail, send them my way. That's my passion, to help people see what it's really like and if they're even cut out to be a miner, with my free courses over at mining.teachable.com. Thanks so much for listening. Until next week, stay safe, be real, be special, and have fun. For we only live once. Cheers.